started with e4, e5, knight f3, and knight c6, and then bishop to c4, bishop c5. So I was really inviting the Evans gambit with b4, bishop takes, b4, c3, and then the normal variation, mainline variation, bringing the bishop back to there. So I was basically inviting the Evans gambit. However, the opponent didn't play b4, and instead of b4 he castled away, and I played the knight f6. Just in case now he pushed b4, and then I would still take the pawn, and then when he pushed c3 I could fall back into the main variation again, with allowing when the rook arrives, then I would just castle. So both times I was heading for that mainline variation, but after I played knight f6, rather than playing b4, my opponent just played the more solid move d3 Italian game. So I'm thinking then, what must my opponent be thinking at the minute? c1, h6 diagonal, pinning the knight to the queen. Must be thinking that. You can also see his bishop on c4 is sitting in a nice diagonal there from a2 to g8. So I have two choices really. One is d6 and the other is b6 with the fianchetto. Or I suppose I could castle. So I have three choices as far as a continuation. Now d6 I suppose allows the bishop to come out to pin his knight to his queen, whereas b6 is more of a waiting move where I fianchetto the bishop, hope to have a good successful trade down in the centre, in this area of the board, try and clean up the sweet centre, the sweet spot, and then have a strong light squared bishop cutting the whole way down the centre of the board. So I decide that I'll push b6, he pushes c3, I castle, c4 now, supported by c3 rather than d4, bishop to d6, bishop to c5, and then finally the fianchettoed bishop. So let's just have a wee look at it from his perspective. What has he got? He has my knight pinned by his bishop. So I wonder, should I push h6? He has my pawn pinned by his other bishop to my king. Not too much you could do about that at the minute. If he pushes his pawn to b5, he's going to kick my knight. I'm not going to be able to bring it back to d7 because then bishop takes knight, b7, sorry, g7 to f6, busts up my castle position. So I really don't want him pushing b5. Therefore, maybe a6 isn't such a bad move either. Okay, so I'm not really going to go through the middle game much. I lose a bishop, I'm down a piece towards the end game. His pieces were simply more actively placed. So I'm going to just, there only were 25 moves in the game. But the last 5 moves were quite well from White's perspective, so I should learn something from that. So if we just quickly go through the middle game fairly fast here. Rook e1, a5, b5, knight to b8, d4, rook to e8. I bring the rook, just stop there a wee second just to show you the pieces. Brought the rook across just to hit that, to hold that central pawn. I don't know if it was the right idea, you know, before I brought the rook out he's hitting it with the pawn and the knight, so at this point I was still trying to keep material. I don't know if there was a better one, but if you look at what Black's doing, you know, the queen and the rook are devastating. And the knight's well placed, the bishop's well placed, and my knight's pinned there. So White is playing very, very well here. I just couldn't stop this is strong centre. So if we flip back to Black's perspective, and I'll just fire on through the middle game here again. As I say, I lose a bishop, so it's rook to e8, a4, c6, knight to d2, bishop to c7, queen to b3, d5, obviously to try and stop the loss of the rook there in some way with the check supported by the queen. Bishop takes c6, d takes e5, bishop takes e5, d takes e5, bishop takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes d4, knight takes d4, queen to d5, quite a nice move, rook and a to d1, and then queen to e6. So if we pick it up here then for a win for White, I mean, White has played very well. Must be thinking at this point, how do I win? You can see the pieces are terrifically set up. Obviously my knight sitting there should definitely be trying to be moved out as my next move. So White must be thinking, how do I win from here? You know, he's up a bishop, and you know, Black has played so terribly that White must be thinking, I have to win this. Plus they had to win because as I say, they're top of the table and they wanted to beat us because we're third. So where is the win for White? So I'm just going to drop into 2D confirmation here just because it shows the win a bit better, I think, a bit clearer. Okay, so I hope you can see that. So what we have for the end game is back rank mate for White. You're going to see the power of the back rank mate here. It completely destroys my board. Simply all White has to play in this position is knight to f3, securing my rook with my queen. I play the only move I have, which is knight to e4, and then again knight brings his second knight back and c to d4. I think I probably had queen to b3 there first. He would have recaptured with the knight and I could have brought my knight out, but I'm still down a piece, and also I played the stupid move, knight takes d2, and that's the end of it. So I capture with the pawn, White takes the knight, I have to move my knight across, and then I resign here because I can't take the queen because the rook's back rank mate. That's the end of it. Any comments or anybody has any good ideas, please do respond.